What's going on, y'all? It's Waiver Wire Queen. Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about some tight ends you should consider drafting late in your fantasy football draft. You don't have to draft the top 5 tight ends early. Wait till the later rounds and draft one of these tight ends. Let's talk about these tight ends. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of great content, which is going to help you prepare for your upcoming fantasy football season and will help you stay competitive and ahead of your competition every week so you can achieve your ultimate goal. And you know what your ultimate goal should be? To win your fantasy football league. Now let's talk about those tight ends. We all know how the tight end position is. People say it's not deep. So some people tend to go and grab the top 5 tight ends early. Some people tend to draft Kels in the first round. Some people may wait and draft tight ends later on, and you may not know who to consider. Well, let's talk about those guys. Austin Hooper with the Tennessee Titans. He has had a rough few seasons with the Browns. Obviously, he performed very, very well with the Falcons, which is why he got the contract with the Browns. Didn't perform well, wasn't really involved as much. And I think part of that was they were a run first team, and the other part was Baker Mayfield was the quarterback, and he's not lighting it up throwing the football. However, Austin Hooper was released by the Browns. He is now with the Titans, and he has a chance to redeem himself and have a nice bounce back season because, again, the last few seasons have been atrocious. 84 receptions, 780 yards, and 7 touchdowns in 2 seasons with the Browns, which isn't great because you want your starting tight end in fantasy to produce. Back when Hooper was signing with the Browns, you probably envisioned that he was going to continue to be successful like he was with the Falcons. Obviously, you know how that went, but I do expect him to get back on track. And some of the reasons is who the hell is Ryan Tannehill throwing the football to outside of Robert Woods? We all know that Traylon Burks is struggling. Right now, I'm feeling like the Titans may be second guessing that big trade, which sent their top talented stud wide receiver, AJ Brown, to the Eagles. And they ended up drafting Traylon Burks with the pick. And so far, it's looking like the Eagles won that draft and that trade, and the Titans messed up. But we'll see how the season goes for Traylon Burks. Right now, it's not looking so good. So, in my opinion, it's going to be a lot of Robert Woods, then Austin Hooper. Let's be clear. The Titans are a run first team. They are at their best when they are running the football. So it's obviously a Derrick Henry type world in Tennessee. But Derrick Henry's running is going to set up Ryan Tannehill to be successful and have a bounce back season as well. So you're going to see a lot of bounce back. Woods going to bounce back. Hooper, more importantly, is going to bounce back for you. And you can draft him because people aren't really checking for Hooper early on in the draft, obviously, as they should be. But again, if you're one of those individuals who prefers to wait on tight end, then Austin Hooper is going to be a great pick, and he will produce for you this year. So forget about the last 2 years and draft Austin Hooper. Let's talk about CLEMENT. We've talked about him quite a few times, and we're going to continue to talk about him. So far, he's looking like he's been getting involved a little bit during preseason with the time that he has been given with the Bears. The biggest thing here is he should be the starter, clear-cut starter. He doesn't have to worry about Jimmy Graham anymore, anyone else splitting reps and time on the field. He is the guy. And towards the end of 2021, he played much better. And I believe that partly was because he was getting more involved and seeing more time on the field and less Jimmy Graham. So that helps, you know. You got to be out there on the field to have an opportunity to produce. And again, this year it's going to be his chance to be the full-time starter to produce. Another thing to understand why he's going to be successful is I simply don't trust that Justin Fields is going to have this great turnaround season versus last year. He may improve, but I don't think it's going to be at the level that some people may envision. I don't see it, which means Cole Kemet should be a security blanket. The tight end security blanket for the young quarterback. He should be that for Justin Fields, and Justin Fields should embrace that. That may help him perform a bit better statistically this season, because outside of Mooney, who else is he simply throwing the ball to at the wide receiver position? I don't trust any of those wide receivers on the team that's not Darnell Mooney. However, Cole Kemet at the tight end position should be that guy. 60 receptions, 612 yards, no touchdowns, which isn't good for me at the tight end position. I want to see some touchdowns. If he was to add some touchdowns to go with the same stats, that would be much better, and he would slightly jump up in the rankings at the tight end position. Again, Justin Fields is going to utilize him as a security blanket. I envision him being heavily involved because, again, outside of Mooney, ain't nobody else you can throw the football to, because they didn't invest heavily in the wide receiver position in this past draft. And that means Cole Kemet, y'all. Cole Kemet, say his name and draft him with confidence, and understand that this is going to be a breakout season for Cole Kemet. He had some flashes last season, but this will be the year. And if you take a chance on him, you are going to see a high return on a reward, and it's low risk. It's a low risk late round draft pick, which will pay off. He's going to outperform his ADP. So draft Cole Kemet with confidence if you can get him. Another tight end who I simply love this season, although his quarterbacks are suspect, Noah Fant with the Seahawks. That is right. This young man has the talent, has dealt with some injury issues, but you were able to see the flashes when he was with Denver. And considering they have had issues with the quarterback position as well, this should work in his favor. All right. Quarterback issues, nothing new for him. Okay. And he has a rapport with Drew Lock. So I honestly believe Geno Smith will be the guy, but that's not saying much because Geno Smith hasn't looked great, especially in the second preseason game for Seattle. The whole offense hasn't looked great. They're going to run the football a lot. And when they do have to pass the ball, they're not going to be able to get it down the field. So I'm expecting Noah to get some touches. I'm expecting him to see some targets and be that security blanket. I know these are so-called veteran quarterbacks because they've been in the league a certain amount of time. However, they're not going to be able to get the ball down the field as much to DK and Tyler. So Noah, security blanket, will produce statistically and help your team. And again, you don't have to take him early in your draft. You can wait on him. 2021, although there were several quarterback issues when he was with Denver, still was able to get 68 receptions, 670 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And again, that was with inconsistent quarterback play. And when I say inconsistent, it was horrible at times. And he was still able to produce solid numbers. And again, you're not reaching and drafting him early. You can load up on the running backs and the wide receivers and get your quarterback, and then come on and grab one of these tight ends on this list early or late. If you are in a 2 tight end league and say you do want to reach for one of the top guys, then you can wait and draft one of these guys later on to complement one of the top guys. Don't reach and grab 2 top tight ends and miss out on your running back and your wide receiver positions, because those are very important. Although you can get some good wide receivers late, ain't nothing like having Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson on your side in fantasy football. It scares the hell out of people, and your opponents will be afraid. And you're going to use the right draft strategy to load up on those positions and take your tight end a little bit later and not worry about grabbing a tight end early. Another tight end you should consider drafting. And again, draft him late, and he is a tight end who um, may be your tight end coming off the bench in the event that your starting tight end gets injured by week, or he can be a tight end you utilize in the trade. Mo Alley Cox. That's right, y'all. Yeah, I said Mo Alley Cox with the Colts. Mo Alley Cox is going to truly be the starter this season for the Colts. None of the other tight ends on the roster have done anything to guarantee the starting job. So it should be Mo Alley Cox. And the thing that I think about with Mo Alley Cox is I think about the fact that he has Matt Ryan as his quarterback. And guess what? What did Austin Hooper do with Matt Ryan as his quarterback? He produced top 10 stats 2 years with Matt Ryan. Not saying that Mo Alley Cox is about to be a top 10 tight end. Because don't y'all say where Walker's at, because I ain't say that. And I'm not trying to say that. But what I'm saying is he should be solid and be a part of the Colts offense. Obviously, I do believe they'll run the hell out of the football with Jonathan Taylor. I would like them to kind of cut back on that a little bit, because I want to see the young man be in the league 2 years from now. Can't have him um having almost 400 touches 2-3 seasons in a row. That's just not going to work uh long term. And when I mean long term, because you know the running back shelf life is short as hell. I mean 2 years. So I want to see them make sure that they just be cautious with Jonathan Taylor. And now that you feel like you have a better quarterback in Matt Ryan, you can throw the football. And obviously Pittman is going to be involved. You have some other wide receivers on the roster, Parrish, young rookie wide receiver, some other wide receivers on the team, but I do believe Mo Alley Cox will be involved. Big thing, he has never had 400 yards in a season. I think that's going to change this year. Now, if one of these young tight ends they drafted Granson in 2021 and they drafted Woods in 2022. I envision Woods to be that guy, but he was struggling early on during training camp. He looked a bit better during preseason, but I don't think that these two guys have done enough to jump Mo Alley Cox as a starting tight end. So Mo Alley Cox is someone you can most likely pick up on waivers and use him in spot start situations. And again, bye weeks, injury concerns. Don't wait until the situation occurs. Don't wait till it hit the fan and something happens, and then now you're trying to rush to waivers and try to add someone. Be 10 steps ahead of your opponent. Okay, the goal is to always be ahead of your competition, and that's how you position yourself to win. And that is what we're trying to do in 2022. Oh yes, Tyler Higbee, tight end with the Rams. Biggest thing with Tyler Higbee is like the potential is there, but it's always a disappointment because it's always some injuries. And yes, injuries are part of the game, but damn it, he always seemed to be hurt. Every time I look, I'm like, damn, Higby hurt again. But the talent is there. I will tell you this. And you don't have to reach and draft him early as well. The last 2 years have been disappointing because of the injuries, 2019 was a very good year for him. Over 700 receiving yards, 69 receptions. And the thing with Tyler Higbee coming out of 2019, we know that Gerald Everett, left the building, went to Seattle. And we thought that, oh, okay, now he's really going to produce. But then the injuries over the last 2 years, and, it's been a disappointment. But I do believe if he is able to remain healthy this year, he's going to be involved. We all know the Rams have that high-powered offense. Yes, Matthew Stafford has some elbow issues. Then been dealing with the elbow issues, and they're going to monitor that. He had an elbow issue last year, and look what he did. So I'm not stressing over that, and I would wait and draft Tyler Higbee as my tight end. Again, one thing you have to take into consideration is before you are even drafting, you are looking at your league's scoring format, and that is how you develop your strategy. Now, if this was a 2 tight end premium league and they awarded additional points for the tight end position, because if you don't get the top 5, then everybody feels like, oh, if you don't get the top five tight ends, you have nothing. Then maybe you could grab your tight end a little bit earlier, but a lot of leagues don't give additional points to the tight ends. So if you're not getting those top 5, then you're left looking at the middle group. Check out my video on the top 10 tight ends in fantasy football. That will kind of help you determine if you want to reach for the top 5, or you want to go from 6 to 10, or you want to wait a little bit later and take a chance on one of these guys who will produce some weeks the same as some of the tight ends you're going to reach and draft early, rank 6 through 10 potentially. So again, the most important thing is to know your league scoring format, and that is how you will formulate your draft strategy. But again, these tight ends are great late round steals, and if you don't trust these guys as your starters, they can come off your bench and produce. But Noah Fant is definitely someone who can start, as well as Tyler Higbee. They should be able to start for you. And Austin Hooper, people laugh about Austin Hooper. I'm looking at drafts, because I've done several real drafts, not mocks, drafts, and a lot of people are leaving Austin Hooper like, oh, and Cole Kemet like, oh, whatever. And these guys are set up to really produce and have a good season statistically in fantasy football for you. So let everyone laugh and you draft Cole Kemet. There are people who are drafting Justin Fields early as hell. And if you're unable to get Darnell Mooney, his next best target is going to be Cole Kemet. So if you can't grab Darnell Mooney and you're set on Justin Fields as your guy, then Cole Kemet should be your answer if you cannot get Darnell Mooney. If you start Cole Kemet as your tight end in fantasy football this season, you're doing the right thing. Make sure you leave some comments and let me know your thoughts on these tight ends being late round steals and how they will perform in 2022 in fantasy football. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Again, we have a lot of great content which is going to help you prepare for your upcoming fantasy football season and keep you 10 steps ahead of your competition weekly, so you can achieve your ultimate goal. And you know what that ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is to win your fantasy football league. I'll see you guys on Saturday. We have a great mock show for you, and it's going to be a 1 quarterback mock draft, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 3 wide receiver, pretty much standard. However, there'll be a little twist, and y'all gonna have to tune in to see the twist. So I'll see y'all on Saturday. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.